For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ultima, and for the most part, I'm pretty bad at video games. I can't see anything. What the heck? No, dodge, dodge, dodge. However, despite this glaring flaw, I do still enjoy really difficult games, and this is one of them. Black Myth Wukong came out this year and is definitely one of the harder games to have come out. Not the hardest, but it is difficult. But the art style is beautiful, the soundtrack is amazing, and the general feel of the game is very rewarding, and I really loved it. We start the game off being this little monkey character in a pretty epic cutscene, which reminds me very much of Goku. In fact, I didn't realize that Goku was based off of this character until seeing this first part of the game, and then eventually learning that that was the thing. But I didn't ever play Dragon Ball, so it was news to me. Didn't he have a monkey tail when he was, like, little? We start off the game with a scripted fight against Erlang Shen, which is meant to help you learn the controls, and me, being the somewhat noob that I am, saw these little things on the side and had no idea how to use them, even though right in the center of that little wheel there is an R2 button, which I'm sure if I had pressed, then I would have realized that those are things that I could potentially use. After thoroughly beating Erlang, who I didn't realize was going to be incredibly annoying, probably the most annoying boss that I have ever faced in any video game ever later on in the game. But after I beat him, you go into this little cutscene in which you're kind of introduced to the main character that you will actually be playing throughout the rest of the game, the Destined One.
One that shall recover all his scattered relics, and upon the return of the relics to Mount Tuaguo, he may yet rise again.
Ooh. Beep. This game is divided up into 6 chapters, the first one being Black Cloud, Red Fire, and I'm going to do these videos probably pretty much in this order. Eventually, I got control of the character and started exploring, and found that this world is very similar to a lot of other games where the world itself is pretty much on rails, but it is open to exploration. There isn't really too much limitation to the exploration. They do have some big open areas, they have treasure chests to find, and in general, it's actually a lot of fun, and you don't really notice that it is on rails. After wandering around for a bit, you get introduced to this game's version of the bonfire, which are called shrines. And at this particular shrine, you get introduced to an interesting little character who will help you out in this first area. He gives us a little bit of background, and he teaches us a few spells throughout the course of this chapter. But in general, I haven't found him to be that very useful. Exploring a bit further, and after finding a baboon that is definitely hiding something inside this rock, you find a few things throughout the world that I guess evidently don't have a particular purpose at the very beginning. And unless you're willing to look up a guide, you're probably going to miss the purpose of these little items that you gather. Me being a completionist, explored probably a little bit too much, trying out a few different things to see if there were any secrets in the area. But eventually you get over to the first boss that you face in the game. A boss known as the Bull Guard. Huh? Got a big old I don't trust anyone type feel to him. Now, I believe that this guy is only there to teach you the details about fighting bosses and to help you get a spell that you'll use pretty much throughout the entirety of the game, also known as immobilize. I can't see anything. Okay. Oh, that's nice.
It's been a while, but the immobilize spell still works like a charm. Oh, the young ones these days know no manners. Fear not. Teach them a lesson with your new...
It was at about this point that I realized that I probably could have used those spells in the very beginning of the first more cinematic fight. Of course, it didn't really matter at that time, so who cares? But it became my bread and butter throughout the entire rest of the game. And yet again, another reason to realize that I am a complete noob at these games is that, I mean, once I get a spell in a slot or I'm doing something in a certain way, I will not change it for the life of me. I found a meditation spot and quite enjoyed the views that it provided. Is that going to do something? What is meditate going to do? Oh, okay. Well, evidently that's where I'm supposed to go, so. And then I sat down at it. After finding my Zen, I continued on the path to another of the shrines where this guy turned me into a golden cicada, which I actually don't understand the purpose for. You don't see this form very much. It's slower than actually exploring the mountain all by yourself. The form doesn't last too long, and once you get over into any actual arena, you come out of it. I don't see the purpose of these particular transformations other than maybe they're something vestigial from an earlier form of the game, but I didn't care much for it, and I was very happy when it was done. While exploring the normal way on foot like everyone else, I found that certain plants actually want to pluck you. Where are you? They hit pretty hard. Oh geez, you're strong, that's what you are. After thoroughly exploring the forest, I decided to take on the big boss baby man, which just so happens to be the hardest boss at this particular point in the game. Now granted, he is only the second boss in this game, but it took me significantly more attempts to beat this guy than it did any of the other bosses in this chapter. There we go. Woo, finally. Of course, at this point, you're introduced to spirits, but there's nothing that you can do with them. They just kind of disappear, and you maybe get a little bit of will for every attempt, but eventually you just kind of give up. Now, you see, had I been intelligent, I would have actually gone over a little bit further and beat Guangji before I took on the little baby guy. What the heck was that? No. And this is because upon defeating Guangji, you actually get to transform into this wolf, and probably would have taken me significantly less time to have beaten that crazy baby. Sure. Each fire thrust, flames do rise, transforming the wolf. Interesting. Continuing on in my noobish stupor, I decided to continue to the next boss, Lingjutsi. And had I known that this boss was going to be so dang easy, I probably would have taken him out first. Oh, hey there. Man, you're a big boy, aren't you? Hey. Oh, interesting. Can you come down here, please? Yeah, kind of like that. Hey, that's pretty cool. No. No, dodge, dodge, dodge. Nice. Woo. One attempt for this guy. Defeating this boss marked the midpoint of Chapter 1. Of course, as a noob, I had no idea exactly where in the chapter I was, but more interesting things were to follow, and this game does a really good job with scale. I really enjoyed exploring each area, which seemed to take a great majority of the amount of playtime that I put into this game. This game does its very best to encourage drug addiction by allowing you to explore and find pills that are scattered throughout the realms, usually after some sort of boss fight or in some sort of secret area. That's it. These pills drastically increase, quote-unquote, your stats to a near negligible degree. Lotus pill. Reaches and massively increases maximum health. Geez, if that's massive, I don't want to see minuscule. Like, holy mackerel. Don't be so generous there with your massive health increase. Continuing onward, heavy with disappointment, I found my way to a gourd seller, who just happened to be the person that I needed to upgrade my gourd so that I could get those little blue and green floating wisps that flow around everywhere in this game. You have a much bigger gourd. Can I have your gourd?
Oh, this is better.
Spirit of Sword Gourd possesses remarkable divine capabilities, allowing it to absorb the lingering pills of spirits left behind. After collecting the spirit of that big old baby, then that once again became my go-to spirit throughout the rest of my run-through. Nearly never to be taken off until I finally faced Erlang in the final chapters. Let's see. Take the form once again, I just don't like changing things. I like having what I have and just learning to do with that. I then traveled down to the local Cajun supermarket to pick up a few frog legs. This one was a little bit spicier than what I would have liked, with a very annoying tongue that seemed to keep knocking me off my combo attacks, which became a very big problem throughout the entirety of the game, and I probably should have expected it from seeing how badly this one did. There we go. A few hours of traveling through a snake-infested bamboo grove, and eventually I met up with the second major boss of the area. A bulbous, bulb-headed buffoon named Guangmo.
This humble one's name is Guangmo. Should my demise come by your hands, please...
He got me a few times with his very annoying poison attacks, which seemed to deal far more damage than they did actual poison. In fact, I don't even think that when the poison procced, it dealt as much damage as the attacks that procced the poison. But it didn't take too long for me to finally bring him down and send him to that great snake in the sky. There we go.
My master. Possession obsessed.
At about this point, you're introduced to another drunken ape, and this time, he helps you upgrade your gourd so that you can become even more drunk and inebriated as the game goes on.
These snake guys are nothing to fear. Snake gall steeped in drink, though, makes a fine tonic to flush malady. Here, here, young friend. Be my guest inside.
Old Jim? Now, I'm sure if I wasn't such an obsequious buffoon, then I would have realized the importance of upgrading my gourd at every possible opportunity or finding soaks and drinks. But once again, I did not see a lot of purpose in this, as each one seemed to have its own real annoying challenge that it was included with it. So I didn't find myself going back too often to this guy, except when I did finally have the idea that I had enough materials to upgrade or go on. Very soon after the drunken ape, we find a drunken snake. This one, particularly named the White-Clad Noble, blocked the way forward to the final boss of the area. Now granted, there were still a few more things for me to do in this, but I had to get through this very annoying creature first. His first phase was a test in patience as he wanders around and does all of these area of attacks, and if you try and gather up any sort of steam, then he'll knock you out of your combo or just back away to the point that you have to either run or find some way to catch up with him. This, however, is nothing compared to his second phase. Go.
You have forced my hand. Now you...
In his second phase, he becomes a lot more snake-like, and he decides to slither around the arena at such an annoying pace that it's very hard to actually keep up and keep damaging him as the time goes on. He does eventually go down, but it's not without a great amount of ire on my behalf. the one that hit me before. That's perfect. Ow. There we go. He spouts off cryptic nonsense that I was not paying attention to at all, and off to the side you find another bell. There have been 3 so far in this area, and this one leads you to a secret location with another giant baby. That's bell number 3. Of course, me being the naive noob that I was, decided to go exploring in the cave a little bit further before taking on that secret area. I had no idea whether that secret area marked the end of this particular stage or if there were other things to look forward to afterwards, so I just decided to progress a little bit forward and see what the new area had to hold, which I'm glad that I did. Had another meditation spot and another pill for me to get addicted. I mean, to help me. Celestial yes, help me on my way. Indeed. Pill increases maximum mana. After that frankly massively minuscule addition to my maximum mana, I decided to go on and take on the babyface. Outside of far more interesting story implications, this fight plays out almost exactly like the Wandering White or the babyface from the earlier part of the game, except he's a little bit more agile and he seems to be a little bit more aggressive. He also has this very annoying move in the middle of the fight where he can heal most of his health back by having his wanderers come right at him and he absorbs their, I guess, their life's essence. Heck? What are you doing? Doing? You guys all headed towards him. Can I hit this guy? What? How is he hitting me in the air? Like, in the air, he's hitting me with a ground attack. Doesn't make sense. You knock it off. There we go. My goodness. Doesn't make sense. After defeating him, you can come back and interact with this wolf who has hung himself on this tree. Hello? And from here, you get a very interesting thing, which evidently the elder Jinchi was looking for, which is some sort of Kasaya, whatever he said at the very beginning of his attack, which allows you to be immune to fire for a while and to resist certain attacks.
You must have freed them.
This was one of those vessels that I used the absolute least out of this entire playthrough.
Tragedy
I then get introduced to the first phase of the final boss fight, which is this guy. A big old monk who claims that he did all sorts of good things for scriptures and mountains and whatever else he was saying. I wasn't paying too much attention at the time.
All those monks consumed by the fire turned to wandering ghosts roaming in Black Wind Mountain. It was I.
A lot of the annoyance from this fight came from the incredible amounts of downtime that you wound up having to wait when he turned into his Black Wind form. The rest of the fight went on fairly easy, but this Black Wind form would chase you around and hit you even when you dodge or you dodge perfectly, and it seemed to be impacting the way that I dodged so that I couldn't dodge immediately as I was used to outside of boss fights.
That's a familiar trick. You won't burn the temple down.
Come on. Why is my one, like, big head attack not going off? There we go. Oh, that is nice.
Today if you fight one year, who are you to stand against me? You have ruined everything!
Oh, how dare you! Woo! Nice, first try. After having thoroughly cleaned his clock, he ran up the mountain and hid from me for another few minutes at least. Go! Why not? I then made my way through what I thought to be the most annoying section of the early game, which is this area where you have a whole bunch of archers just sitting there shooting at you all the time. You collect a few spirits, and you kill a few larger elite enemies that used to be a boss. This guy made it quite evident that he didn't want to die today, because the moment that I had any sort of opportunity to attack him, he climbed up on a roof and out of my reach, and kinda got stuck up there for a little bit as well. Hey. All these archers are driving me absolutely batty. All need to die. What the freak? Come on. Can't even fight him. At this point, I was absolutely ready to be completely done with this area. I was tired of getting stun locked by these arrows. I was tired of them going through walls and having all sorts of other issues. I did not want to be in this area anymore, and I wanted to kill everything here. Oh my goodness. Eventually, I made my way to the final shrine of the chapter and used it as a staging point to my attempts for the final boss, at least the final phase of the final boss. I'm very mad. Black bear blood. Now, this guy may be large and intimidating, but in the end, he's just a little hungry, angry old Winnie the Pooh. With, instead of wearing his shirt, it's tucked around his waist. Why is he not taking any damage? My goodness. Roughly halfway through the boss fight, he decided to start his little wind nonsense again and transformed into a pile of unassailable black wind that will once again chase you around, and there's not much you can do about it, and it's just a long waiting game, wait and dodge. What the heck? What the heck? Oh my goodness. How is it hitting? Oh my goodness. After satisfying the rumbly in his tumbly with a heaping helping of lumps, he wanted to try and escape with my relic, which didn't turn out so well for him. and eventually he just wound up pleading for his life. The arena is what really got me there.
Wretch! Well, spare your sorry life for today! Fortune is no longer on your side! No one will come to your aid. All I need is to take it elsewhere and rebuild everything anew!
And what is it? What I do? Oh, that's a bird I turned into. Oh, 2 eyes. At the very end of the chapter, we're helped to this little cinematic, which helps explain a little bit of the Elder Jinchi and the relationship between him and this great black bear Gwai. Gonna eat ya. Which I would go over, but I have no idea what's going on in this cinematic anyway, so there are a lot of people out there with lore videos to that. But this is exactly how somebody who's not good at video games managed to beat Chapter 1 of Black Myth Wukong. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I upload daily, and I'll see you on the next one. There's Greed. Is it Greedy? He has the face of a greedy guy. We consume him. Ooh.
Destiny do you claim? As the small fish catches its prey, the bigger lurks behind. Who is the bigger fish? I can't see it. As for the prey and the small fish, they are swimming everywhere.
Huh. I like that. Maybe. Oh, that's one of those things they were talking about. I mean, I suppose.